Imagine being so blinded by what you think is love that you empty a family safe, pack your bags, and prepare to throw your entire future away for someone who is completely manipulating you. That is exactly the heart-stopping situation playing out right now with young Will. He has swiped a massive amount of cash to fund a secret getaway with Megan, an older woman who has completely twisted his reality. We are talking about a deeply inappropriate dynamic and a frantic race against the clock to stop a teenager from making a life-altering mistake before he vanishes forever. If you are as hooked on this intense Weatherfield drama as I am, please hit that like button and subscribe to CoronationST update right now so you never miss out on our deep dives. Your support means everything, builds our community, and keeps the truth flowing. Now, let us get right into the fallout of this absolute chaos, because the stakes have never been higher for this family. Everything started unraveling when Susie walked into the room at the worst possible moment. She became the ultimate eyewitness to an incident that nobody wanted to believe. Susie saw the safe left wide open and realized immediately that an unauthorized withdrawal had just taken place. The sheer panic that washed over her was palpable because she knew instantly who was responsible and what it meant. Accusations surfaced within minutes, and the entire household turned upside down. The family realized that Will had not just made a tiny mistake, he had taken a massive sum of money, completely compromising their security, all under the heavy influence of Megan. And let us be brutally honest here, Megan is not some caring partner. She is an older woman who has systematically isolated a vulnerable young boy, using mind games to make him believe that her toxic control is actually affection. It is a terrifying situation, and the family knows that if they do not find him quickly, Will's life will be irreparably damaged. While the family is scrambling, dealing with unwanted intruders showing up at their door and making a highly volatile situation even worse, Will and Megan are already on the move. They are trying to make their great escape, fully intending to leave Weatherfield behind and start a new life funded by the cash Will took. But fate has a funny way of stepping in when you least expect it. They arrive at the station only to look up at the departure boards and see that their trains are completely cancelled. The transport system is in absolute gridlock. This single delay changes everything. It creates a ticking clock, a tiny window of opportunity for someone to step in before Will crosses a line he can never come back from. The tension at that train station is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Megan is getting agitated, the mask is starting to slip, and Will is standing there clutching a bag full of cash, completely oblivious to the fact that his supposed soulmate is just waiting to use him and leave him with nothing. This is where Tim enters the picture. And I have to say, this is one of the most powerful and heartbreaking moments we have witnessed in a long time. Tim, our reliable taxi driver, manages to track them down just in time. But he does not rush in yelling or throwing accusations. He knows that if he acts aggressively, Will is just going to put his walls up and run faster. Instead, Tim takes a completely different approach, one that requires him to rip open his own old wounds. He pulls Will aside, away from Megan's suffocating presence, and he starts to tell his own story. Tim looks this young boy in the eye and shares the deeply painful truth about his own past. He talks about the severe manipulation he endured when he was younger, caught in a very similar, highly inappropriate emotional dynamic with someone who had all the power. Tim explains to Will that what he is experiencing is not real intimacy. He breaks down the painful reality of his own sensual trauma, explaining how these predators operate. They make you feel special, they play on your developing intimation, and they convince you that it is you and them against the world. But it is all a complete lie. Tim makes it incredibly clear that Megan does not love him. She is exploiting him. She saw a lonely, vulnerable teenager and realized she could mold him to get exactly what she wanted, including a free payday from that family safe. Tim does not sugarcoat it. He tells Will that going down this road leads to nothing but absolute destruction. He shares how his own past experiences nearly broke him, how it took years to rebuild his sense of self-worth after being used and discarded by someone who was supposed to be the adult in the room. You can literally see the gears turning in Will's head as Tim speaks. The absolute DMM realization crashing down on this kid is devastating to watch. The illusions Megan built are shattering piece by piece. Tim is pleading with him, trying to save him from making a mistake that could lead to the kind of despair where people feel like their only way out is if they just offed themselves, or where they cope in ways that leave them entirely broken, like finding someone who OD'd because they couldn't handle the memories. Tim wants to spare Will from a lifetime of that specific, heavy darkness. He exposes the reality of consent, explaining that when there is such a massive age gap and power imbalance, true consent does not even exist. It is coercion, plain and simple. Meanwhile, the intruders back at the house are finally dealt with, allowing Will's frantic family to rush to the station. They arrive just as the truth is finally sinking in for Will. The confrontation that follows is quiet, but incredibly intense. Megan realizes her meal ticket is gone, that her toxic grip has been broken by a taxi driver brave enough to share his own darkest secrets. The way the family rallies around Will, despite the absolute storm he caused by taking the money, shows the unconditional protection he actually needs. Will is left standing there, grappling with the heavy emotional aftermath, realizing just how close he came to throwing his entire existence away for a lie. It is a profound, gripping turn of events that leaves you breathless, proving just how far people will go to protect the ones they care about from unseen dangers.